The media often report about young adults being dependent on long-term financial support of their parents. But none of my friends or myself actually receive this kind of support. So how dependent is this generation on their parents' support?
Most young adults aged 18 and 34 don't actually receive a lot of financial help from their parents once they've left home. This isn't to say that parents don't actually support their adult children, but the types of support that they give don't tend necessarily to be financial payments. So what you'll see is that parents support by offering help with childcare or even just general household tasks or just emotional support. But the most common form of support that they give is to offer a roof over young adults' heads. So what we see is that quite a lot of young adults continue to cohabit with their parents, and live with their parents and leave home later. And that's the most common form of support that parents give to young adults. But in terms of financial support itself, it's not that common. So it's not a straight case of wealthy parents giving to their children. And actually what we see is quite a lot of wealthy parents don't give to their children. That's actually quite common. So even when they're very rich, they still might not be providing financial support. And there are other factors within a parent-child relationship that determine, they're actually quite often more relevant when we're trying to find out who receives this kind of financial help. And one of the most important factors actually is the number of siblings you have. So if you actually have a large number of siblings, then the chances are that your parents won't be able to provide financial support to each and every one of you. So if you're an only child, you're much more likely to receive financial help. And in addition to that, if you're the youngest child, you're less likely to receive financial help. So the older siblings are more likely to receive financial help than their younger siblings. This has been a big research question in the field in the last decade about in which country do parents give the most money to their children. And one of the things we have seen that if there is a difference between countries, in Southern Europe, it's actually these kind of this financial assistance is actually less frequent. When it does happen, they tend to be of a somewhat larger size payments, but they are substantially less frequent in these Southern European countries. And yeah, this happens for a number of reasons. The financial crisis in these Southern European countries has also hit parents as well, and we have to remember that. And so their ability to provide financial help is as constrained as the need of young people to receive it. Instead, again, what kind of support you do get from parents in Southern Europe is that extended period of living with your parents. So they'll provide a roof over your head for a longer period of time, and you'll leave home later. It's a really tough scientific question, and the reason is it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. So it's a common finding in research to see that if someone gets married, they generally receive some financial help from their parents at the same time. What's harder to establish, and we don't quite have the data there yet to answer this question, is what comes first. So does somebody receive financial help from their parents and therefore they can get married, or do they receive it as a present related to their marriage? Now the size of the payments that they receive tends to suggest that they're probably not quite big enough to be decisive in the decision to get married or to have a child. But there is increasing evidence to suggest that they do encourage and help people kind of go through these big life events like have a child or move house or graduate from university. The most interesting statistic in terms of the financial, the support that parents offer to children is that 50% of young adults, that's 18 to 34-year-olds in Europe, still live at home with their parents. That's one in two. So, which is quite a high number. In terms of how parents support these young adults, it's quite clear that this cohabitation is one of the crucial factors. And this is a particularly interesting statistic for us as social demographers, because This prolonged period of living at home has really long-term consequences. So you get married later, your relationships develop later, you move out later and get your own home later, and you end up having children later, which means in the long run you actually have fewer children, and it can also curb your career development.